Imagine this. It's Monday morning, and two different people are chasing the same thing: a longer, healthier life. One of them is in Silicon Valley, stepping into an ice bath, an IV drip bag hanging nearby like it's part of the decor. The other is your neighbor, laughing on a porch with friends, not tracking a single biomarker.
And somehow, the neighbor might be closer to the finish line. Today we're walking through a week of headlines that all orbit one big question: what actually works? Not what sounds futuristic, not what sells subscriptions, what holds up when you zoom out and look at health like a long game. We've got a longevity drug that might sabotage your workouts, a reminder that friendship is basically a health vital sign, a new wave of biohacking that's equal parts ambition and marketing, and AI showing up everywhere from anti-aging drug discovery to seeing deeper into the brain for way cheaper.
Plus, a second thread running through all of this: the idea that some things we blame on willpower, like burnout or even metabolic problems, might be rooted in the microscopic machinery inside you. Mitochondria, muscle tissue, cellular repair.
And then, just when you think you've got the theme pinned down, we'll detour into the part of the news that sounds like a dare, reanimating a mummy's voice, turning dead spiders into robot claws, and drones inspired by dandelions. Let's start with the longevity gold rush. Because right now, staying young isn't just a personal goal, it's an industry. Yeah, there's this feeling that if you can measure it, you can beat it, and if you can beat it, you can sell it.
Which brings us to rapamycin. For years, rapamycin has had this reputation in longevity circles, a drug with evidence in animals that it can extend lifespan, and so people started wondering, could it also make the benefits of exercise even better, like stacking buffs in a video game? Lift weights plus longevity drug equals superhuman aging.
But this new study is basically saying, hold on, the combo might not be magic. In fact, rapamycin may blunt some of the gains you'd normally get from working out.
Which is such a gut check for the whole optimization mindset. Because exercise is one of the most reliable, boring, well-proven life upgrades we have. Exactly. If a drug interferes with your body's ability to adapt to training, that's not a small side effect. That's the whole point of going to the gym. You stress the system, and it rebuilds stronger. So if someone is chasing longevity, and they're also training hard, the takeaway isn't rapamycin is evil. It's more like, don't assume you can layer interventions and get only upside.
Right, the body isn't a spreadsheet. You can't always add one more hack and expect the totals to go up. Here's the contrast that hit me. Centenarians celebrating their 100th birthdays this week weren't crediting designer interventions. Their stories were basically, keep it simple, stay positive, don't make life so complicated, and yeah, maybe you caught a lucky break. A good attitude, simple living, and a little luck. It's not the kind of advice you can patent.
But it might be closer to the truth than we want to admit.
Now, that doesn't mean real science isn't happening. Some of the most interesting longevity research right now is computational, not cosmetic. Like AI-driven drug discovery.
In Silico Medicine just formed a longevity board aimed at using AI to accelerate the search for drugs that could slow aging. That's a very different vibe than selling a cold plunge as a personality. It's still ambitious, but at least it's pointed at the hard part. New therapeutics, new targets, real testing. The kind of work that takes time and doesn't always look glamorous. And while we're talking about what's actually happening inside the body, we have to pivot to a topic that a lot of people carry silently: burnout. There's this idea floating around from Dr. Trevor Bachmeyer. Burnout isn't just a motivation issue, it can be a mitochondrial issue. Which is a big deal because it changes the moral story we tell ourselves. If your mitochondria aren't functioning well, your cells literally can't generate energy in the way they're supposed to. So the feeling of "I can't keep up" might not be laziness, it might be biology.
That doesn't mean mindset is useless. But it means shame is the wrong tool. If the underlying system is low on power, yelling at yourself doesn't recharge the battery.
And the muscle story connects here too. New research is pointing to muscle biology as a major factor in type 2 diabetes risk. Not just body weight as a headline number, but the actual health and composition of muscle tissue.
So instead of treating diabetes as purely a bad choices narrative, this view zooms in on the tissue-level reality: how well your muscles manage glucose, how metabolically active they are, and how that system can drift over time.
And for chronic fatigue, the reframing is similar. The suggestion is to focus more on cellular repair and mitochondrial health to address root causes rather than just fighting symptoms. Which kind of ties our whole episode together. The best health moves are often the ones that support the fundamentals. Exactly, whether it's your cellular energy factories or your friendships, the foundation matters. Now let's widen the lens to AI, because it's not just in longevity drug boards, it's also sneaking into neuroscience in a way that could change access.
Researchers at UC Berkeley developed a method that uses AI to produce high-resolution images of deep brain structures without needing the most expensive equipment. That's huge because historically, clearer deep brain imaging often meant higher cost and less access. So the practical impact could be more labs can do better imaging, more patients could benefit, and the barrier to seeing what's happening in the brain drops. And while this is happening, the giants are spending like it's an arms race. The infrastructure build-out for AI is massive, and companies like Alphabet and Microsoft are pouring money into chips and data centers at a pace that's hard to wrap your head around.
It's like doomsday prepping, but for compute.
Meanwhile, schools and local governments are trying to adopt AI tools before they've even fully decided what they want them to do. There's momentum, there's pressure, and there's a bit of we can't fall behind, even if the map isn't drawn yet.
Okay, quick pivot. Real estate. Because not everything this week was biotech and brain scans.
Multifamily housing is showing some signs of recovery. Nothing explosive, but modest improvement. And rent growth is expected to remain pretty thin, around 1.2% through 2026. Mortgage applications dipped a bit as rates ticked up. But there's still plenty of activity. The industry is shifting too. Big players are strengthening their tech stacks, and more companies are leaning on AI to handle those massive loan documents more efficiently. It's another example of AI moving in quietly where there's paperwork, volume, and complexity.
Now we owe everyone the wildest corner of the news cycle, because it was a week. Let's start with the part that feels like it should be forbidden. Scientists managed to recreate the voice of a 3,000-year-old mummy.
History lovers are thrilled. Everyone else is thinking, we agreed the dead would stay quiet. And then there's the nightmare fuel. Researchers turning dead spiders into mechanical grippers, basically using their bodies like ready-made claws.
So even in death, spiders are still finding ways to get screams out of us. Incredible brand consistency. If that wasn't enough, scientists are also building dandelion-inspired drones designed to move with the wind and monitor environments, which is beautiful and also makes you wonder where those little floating seeds might end up one day.
On the humans or extreme front, chainsaw carvers are turning raw logs into detailed art, which is somehow both wholesome and terrifying. And moonshiners are facing tougher testing and scrutiny, because apparently the hobby comes with a side quest. Don't explode your shed.
Underwater adrenaline got a surprising headline too. Experts say sharks might be among the safer animals to interact with. To be clear, we are not recommending that listeners swim up and verify that personally. Maybe let the professionals stress test that theory.
Environment-wise, the ocean cleanup is going after a garbage patch reportedly twice the size of Texas, which is the kind of scale that makes you go quiet for a moment. And engineers are tackling a less flashy but very real issue. What do we do with wind turbines at end of life? They're huge, and recycling them is way better than turning them into permanent lawn ornaments. 2 more headlines to close the chaos loop. Research suggests magic mushrooms might help with alcohol addiction, which points to a future where treatment looks very different than it used to. And in Turkmenistan, there's the gates of hell, a fiery pit that has been burning for about 50 years. A literal open flame on the landscape, basically reminding everyone what happens when something underground gets out of hand. So what do we do with all of this? Because it's easy to feel like the world is either accelerating into sci-fi or drowning in noise. I think the thread is this. The future might be incredible, and AI might help us see deeper, discover faster, and scale solutions. But the present still runs on fundamentals.
Friendship, movement, recovery, maintaining the systems that generate energy inside your cells, staying curious without getting hypnotized by hype.
And remembering that more advanced isn't always more effective. Sometimes the centenarian advice wins because it's built for real life. So here's a question to leave you with. If you had to pick one investment for your future self this week, would it be a new protocol, or would it be calling a friend and taking a walk?
And if you're exhausted and you've been telling yourself it's a character flaw, maybe consider a kinder hypothesis. Maybe your body needs repair, not punishment. That's it for today. Stay skeptical, stay hopeful, and maybe let the spiders rest in peace, preferably very far away from any robotics lab. Life has its ups and downs, but you're not alone. From 10 to 110, we're in this together, right here, right now. We love ya.
Falling off the silver screen.